I should have known something was wrong when Mom started calling me sweetie again. My name is Summer, and I'm 32 years old. I've been an ATM for my family since I was 16 and got my first job at the hardware store. But this story isn't about teenage me. It's about the moment I realized that being the reliable daughter would cost me everything I'd worked for. Summer, honey, can you swing by this weekend? Mom's voice was sugar sweet through the phone. Your father and I have something exciting to discuss with you. I was elbow deep in structural calculations for a 40-story office building, but I closed my laptop anyway. That's what I always did. Drop everything for family. Sure, Mom. What's going on? Oh, we'll talk when you get here. Bring that contractor friend of yours, Roman, right? We might need his opinion on something. The house looked the same as always when I pulled into the driveway Saturday morning. Same peeling paint, same sagging front porch that I'd been begging Dad to let me fix for years. Roman's truck was already there. There's my brilliant daughter, Dad boomed as I walked through the front door. He was wearing his good shirt, the one he saved for church and family photos. Mom appeared from the kitchen, practically glowing. Summer, perfect timing. Roman's been telling us the most interesting things about home renovations. Roman looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. We'd known each other since college, and I could read his expressions like blueprints. Something was off. What's this about? I asked. Well, Dad cleared his throat. Your mother and I have been thinking. This old house has been in the family for 30 years. It's got good bones, but it needs work, Mom finished. Serious work. And who better to oversee it than our daughter, the engineer? I felt that familiar flutter of pride mixed with obligation. You want me to help with renovations? More than help, Mom said, her eyes bright. We want you to manage the whole project. Design it, oversee it, make it beautiful. Think of it as an investment in the family's future. Roman caught my eye and gave an almost imperceptible shake of his head, but I was already mentally cataloging everything that needed fixing. The foundation settling, the outdated electrical, the roof that leaked every winter. It would be expensive, I said carefully. We're talking major structural work, not just cosmetic updates. We know, Dad said. That's why we're asking you. You understand these things. And he exchanged a look with Mom. And we were hoping you might consider it a family investment, Mom said. You know how much this house means to us, to all of us. There it was, the ask. Not just my expertise, but my money too. How much are we talking about? I asked. Roman shifted again. Summer, maybe we should… Ballpark, Dad interrupted. Maybe 80, 90,000 for everything? My entire savings account flashed before my eyes. Every overtime shift, every skipped vacation, every dollar I'd squirreled away from my own future. But this was family. This was the house where Kyle and I had grown up, where Mom still hosted Christmas dinner, where Dad taught us to ride bikes in the driveway. I'd need to do a full assessment first, I heard myself saying. Get permits, check the foundation, make sure we're not missing anything structural. Mom clapped her hands together. Oh, Summer, this is going to be wonderful. The house will be gorgeous when you're finished with it. Where's Kyle? I asked. Shouldn't he be part of this conversation? Another look passed between my parents. You know your brother, Mom said with a laugh. He's got his hands full with Marley and everything. Besides, this kind of project needs someone with your… skills. Translation: Kyle couldn't be bothered, and they needed my money. I'll think about it, I said. Of course, sweetie. Take your time. But I could see it in their faces. They already knew my answer. They always did. Summer would come through. Summer always came through. Roman walked me to my car afterward. You sure about this? He asked quietly. It's family, I said, the words automatic. Yeah, but Summer, I know what you're going to say, but it's not just about them. It's about preserving something that matters. He nodded, but his expression stayed troubled. Just be careful, okay? Make sure everyone's on the same page about expectations. I drove home thinking about blueprints and budgets, about the satisfaction of taking something broken and making it whole again. I was already mentally designing the new kitchen layout when I stopped by Mom's car to grab my purse. Her phone was sitting on the passenger seat, screen lit up with a text message. He'll love the house. Everything's finally falling into place for him. I stared at those words until the screen went dark, my reflection staring back at me from the black glass. Him, not us, not the family, him. 3 weeks later, I was drowning in permits, contractor schedules, and my own stupidity. The electrical panel needs a complete overhaul, I told Mom over the phone while juggling my coffee and a stack of inspection reports. We're talking another $12,000 minimum. Oh, her voice went flat. That seems like a lot. Mom, the wiring is from 1987. It's not up to code, and honestly, it's a fire hazard. Well, you're the expert. Do whatever you think is best. Whatever I thought was best. With my money. While working 60-hour weeks at my actual job, I'd already transferred $43,000 from my savings to cover the foundation work and new plumbing. Roman's crew had been at the house for 2 weeks, and every day brought new surprises buried in the walls. Summer! Kyle's voice boomed across the construction site as I pulled up after work. He was standing on the front porch like he owned the place, beer in hand, gesturing wildly at Roman. Hey, Kyle. I grabbed my hard hat from the back seat. What brings you by? Just checking on the progress, making sure my sister isn't getting ripped off. He grinned that charming smile that had gotten him out of trouble his entire life. Roman caught my eye and shook his head slightly. Everything okay? I asked. Your brother here has some opinions about the kitchen layout, Roman said carefully. Opinions? Kyle threw his arm around my shoulders. Come on, Sum. You've got to admit the island's a little small. Marley and I were thinking... Marley and you? Well, yeah. I mean, we'll be spending time here too, right? Family dinners, holidays. We want to make sure it's functional for everyone. I stepped out from under his arm. Kyle, this is Mom and Dad's house. Of course it is, but it's the family house, you know? We all have a stake in it. Roman was suddenly very interested in his clipboard. What kind of stake? I asked. Kyle's smile flickered. I just mean, we're all family. What's good for one of us is good for all of us. Right. Speaking of which, how much are you contributing to this renovation? Summer. His voice took on that wounded tone he'd perfected by age 10. You know I would if I could, but with the wedding expenses and now Marley's pregnant... Pregnant? The word hit me like a sledgehammer. Surprise! Kyle's grin was back full force. We were going to tell everyone at dinner Sunday, but since you're here, we're having a baby, Sum. Roman cleared his throat. I'm going to check on the guys upstairs. Congratulations, I managed. That's... wow. I know, right? Marley's over the moon, and Mom's already talking about converting the spare room into a nursery. The spare room here? Well, yeah. I mean, we'll need somewhere to stay when we visit with the baby. Hotels are expensive, and with a newborn, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. Kyle, how often are you planning to visit? I don't know, weekends, holidays, however often Mom and Dad want to see their grandchild. He took a long pull from his beer. Actually, Marley was wondering if you could look into adding a bathroom upstairs. You know, for convenience. Another bathroom. Just a half bath. Nothing fancy. That's another $15,000 minimum. Kyle waved his hand dismissively. You're so good with this stuff. I'm sure you'll figure out a way to do it cheaper. I stared at him, really looked at him, designer jeans, expensive watch, craft beer that cost more per bottle than most people spent on lunch. Meanwhile, I was wearing the same work clothes I'd had for 3 years because every spare dollar was going into this house. Where are Mom and Dad? I asked. Inside somewhere. Mom's showing Marley paint samples. I found them in what used to be the living room, now gutted down to the studs. Mom was holding up color swatches, while Marley, glowing and beautiful, nodded enthusiastically. Summer, Mom beamed. Perfect timing. We're picking colors for the nursery. I thought we were renovating Mom and Dad's house, I said. We are, sweetie, but we want it to be welcoming for everyone, especially our future grandchild. Marley placed a protective hand over her still flat stomach. I hope you don't mind us having opinions. I know this is your project. It's not my project, I said. It's supposed to be what Mom and Dad want. And we want our family to be comfortable here, Mom said firmly. All of our family. Dad appeared from the kitchen, covered in drywall dust. Summer! Good, you're here. The contractor was asking about the bathroom addition upstairs. Kyle mentioned that. It makes sense, doesn't it? With the baby coming and all? I looked around the room, at Mom, practically vibrating with excitement about her future grandchild. At Marley, young and pregnant and already making herself at home. At Dad, who'd never asked me what I wanted, not once in 32 years. Where's Kyle? I asked. Outside, I think, Dad said. Why? Just wondering how much he's contributing to his bathroom addition. The room went quiet. Summer, Mom's voice carried a warning. Don't start. Start what? Asking reasonable questions about a renovation I'm paying for? You offered to help, Dad said. No one forced you. Help? Not fund the entire thing while Kyle makes design requests. He's going to be a father, Mom said. Cut him some slack. I walked to the window and looked out at Kyle, still on the porch, now on his phone, laughing about something, probably making plans with friends while I figured out how to pay for his bathroom. I need some air, I said. Outside, I found Roman loading tools into his truck. Rough day? He asked, getting rougher by the minute. For what it's worth, your brother spent 20 minutes telling me how the kitchen should be laid out, like he's the one who's going to be cooking in it. He say anything else interesting? Roman hesitated. Just maybe keep your receipts organized, you know? Why? Just a feeling. He drove away, leaving me standing in the driveway of a house that was costing me everything I had, for a family that saw me as a walking checkbook. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Aunt Jayla. Call me when you get a chance. We need to talk. I called Aunt Jayla from my car, hands shaking as I dialed. Summer, thank God. Where are you? Sitting in Mom and Dad's driveway? What's going on? Not over the phone. Meet me at Rosie's Diner on 5th Street, 20 minutes. The line went dead. Jayla was already in a corner booth when I arrived, stirring her coffee like she was trying to dissolve the cup. She looked up when I slid across from her, and I could see the guilt written all over her face. I shouldn't be doing this, she said without preamble. Doing what? Telling you what I heard, but I can't sleep at night knowing what they're planning. My stomach dropped. What? Who's planning? Jayla glanced around the diner, then leaned forward. Your parents. And Kyle. Summer, they're not renovating that house for themselves. What do you mean? I was at your mom's last week, helping her sort through old photos. Kyle called while I was there. She paused, took a shaky breath. Your mom put him on speaker. And? He was talking about the house like it was already his. Asking about the timeline, when everything would be finished. Your mom kept saying things like, it'll be perfect for you and Marley, and the baby will love the backyard. The coffee in my mouth turned bitter. Maybe they just meant for visits. Jayla shook her head. Summer, honey, Kyle asked about property taxes, about homeowners insurance, about whether the deed transfer paperwork was ready. The words hit me like a physical blow. Deed transfer? I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I thought you knew. Knew what exactly? That they're giving him the house, once the renovation is done. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, for her to say she misunderstood, but she just sat there, looking miserable. That's impossible, I said finally. I'm paying for everything. They asked me to invest in the family's future. They did. Kyle's future. But why would they? I stopped. I knew why. Kyle was the golden child. Kyle was having a baby. Kyle needed help, and Summer would always be fine on her own. There's more, Jayla said quietly. More? After Kyle hung up, your mom started talking about how smart this was, how they'd get a beautiful house without spending a dime, and Kyle would finally have somewhere stable to raise his family. What about me? She said you'd understand eventually, that you're successful and independent, and Kyle needs the help more than you do. I felt like I was drowning. Did she say when? Soon. Your mom mentioned something about the paperwork being almost ready. She was laughing about how you'd probably want to help with the property taxes too, since you're so good with money. I pushed back from the table so hard my chair scraped against the floor. I have to go. Summer, wait. But I was already walking out, my vision tunneling, my hands numb. I sat in my car for 10 minutes trying to process what I'd just heard. Then I drove straight to my parents' house. The construction crew was gone for the day. Kyle's car was still in the driveway, along with a silver sedan I didn't recognize. Through the window, I could see people moving around inside. I used my key to let myself in through the back door. Perfect for the nursery, Mom was saying from the living room. And Summer's doing such beautiful work with the renovation. She really is talented, an unfamiliar woman's voice replied. Kyle's so lucky to have such a generous sister. I crept closer to the doorway. Oh, Summer's always been the responsible one, Mom said. She knows how important family is. She'd do anything for Kyle. Even pay for an entire house renovation? The woman laughed. Especially that, Kyle's voice joined in. My sister's got this thing about taking care of everyone. Makes her feel needed. That's sweet, the woman said. But won't she be upset when she finds out the house is going to you? She'll get over it, Mom said dismissively. Summer's practical. She'll understand that we need to think about the baby's future. Besides, Kyle added, it's not like she can't afford it. She makes good money and she doesn't have kids or a mortgage. This is probably pocket change for her. I backed away from the door, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they'd hear it. I made it to the kitchen before I had to grab the counter to keep from falling over. On the kitchen table, scattered among paint samples and cabinet hardware, were legal documents. I recognized the letterhead from Dad's lawyer. The top page was a deed transfer form. Kyle's name was typed in the grantee section. The date was next month. My hands were shaking as I flipped through the pages. Property transfer, tax assessment, title insurance, all with Kyle's name. I heard footsteps coming toward the kitchen and quickly shoved the papers back where I'd found them. Summer? Mom appeared in the doorway. I didn't hear you come in. Just got here, wanted to check on the electrical work. Oh, good. Kyle's here with his realtor friend, getting some advice about the property value. His realtor friend? For insurance purposes, Mom said quickly. You know how these things work. Kyle appeared behind her, grinning. Hey, Sum, meet Jessica. She's helping us understand the market value of the improvements you're making. Jessica, a polished woman in her 40s, shook my hand. Your brother's told me so much about your work. This renovation is going to add serious value to the property. Value for who? I asked. Kyle's smile faltered slightly. For the family, of course. Rising tide lifts all boats, right? I looked at Mom, who was suddenly very interested in the paint samples. At Kyle, whose charm was wearing thin around the edges. At Jessica, who was clearly uncomfortable with the tension in the room. Right, I said. The family. I walked out without another word, leaving them standing in the kitchen of the house I was buying for my brother. The house that would never be mine. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my kitchen table with a bottle of wine and my laptop, going through every bank statement, every receipt, every transfer I'd made for the renovation. $67,000. Gone. My phone rang at 7 a.m. Penny. "You sound like hell," she said when I answered. "Feel worse." "What happened?" I told her everything. The overheard conversation, the legal documents, Kyle's realtor friend. By the time I finished, Penny was swearing creatively. "Those absolute bastards," she said. "Summer, you have to confront them." "With what? I don't have any legal claim to the house. It's their property." "But you paid for the renovations." "As a gift." That's how they'll spin it. Then take them to court. And say what? That I voluntarily gave them money and now I want it back? I'd lose. Penny was quiet for a moment. "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet." But I was lying. I knew exactly what I was going to do. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. I called in sick to work and drove to the house. Roman's truck was there along with the electrical contractor's van. I found Roman in the basement installing new outlets. "You look terrible," he said. "Thanks. That's what every woman wants to hear." "Sorry. Rough night?" "You could say that." I sat down on a sawhorse. "Roman, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." He stopped working and looked at me. "Okay. The work we're doing here, is it all up to code?" "What do you mean?" "I mean exactly what I said. Are we following every regulation, getting every permit, doing every inspection?" Roman's face went carefully neutral. "Why are you asking?" "Because I need to know." He set down his drill. "Summer, your mom asked us to cut some corners. Nothing major, just..." "What kind of corners?" "The bathroom addition upstairs. She didn't want to pull permits because it would take too long and cost more money." My stomach clenched. "What else?" "The electrical work in the kitchen. We're doing it right, but we haven't scheduled the inspection yet. Your mom said she'd handle it." "She won't handle it." I figured. "And the foundation work?" "What about the foundation work?" Roman looked miserable. "We found some issues. Settling that's worse than we thought. It needs structural reinforcement, but your mom said to just patch it and move on." "You patched a structural foundation issue?" "She said you'd approved it, that you wanted to keep costs down." I stood up so fast the sawhorse nearly tipped over. "Roman, that foundation could fail. The whole house could be compromised." "I know. That's why I've been trying to talk to you about it. But every time I brought it up, your mom said you were too busy with work." "Show me." He led me to the far corner of the basement where I could see the hasty patch job over what was clearly a serious structural crack. My engineer brain immediately started calculating load distributions and failure points. "This is a disaster waiting to happen," I said. "I know. Summer, I'm sorry. I should have insisted on talking to you directly, but your mom was so convincing and she said..." "She said what?" "That you trusted her to make these decisions, that you were family and family looks out for each other." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Family? Right. What do you want me to do?" I stared at the cracked foundation, at the shoddy patch job, at the corner cutting that could get Roman's license revoked if the city found out. An idea was forming in my mind. A terrible, perfect idea. "Fix it," I said finally. "Fix what?" "All of it. The foundation, the electrical, the bathroom permits. Do it right." "Summer, that's going to cost..." "I don't care what it costs. Do it right or don't do it at all." Roman nodded slowly. "Okay. But what about your mom? She's not going to be happy about the extra expense." "Let me worry about my mom." I left him in the basement and went upstairs, where I could hear voices in the kitchen. Mom and Kyle discussing cabinet hardware. "Summer!" Mom's voice was bright and fake. "Perfect timing. Kyle was just saying how much he loves the subway tile you picked out." "It's going to look great," Kyle said. "Really adds value to the space." "Value," I repeated. "Well, yeah, I mean, when it comes time to sell..." Kyle caught himself. "I mean, if Mom and Dad ever decide to downsize..." "Right, If they ever decide to downsize, Mom jumped in quickly, which won't be for years and years. We love this house. It's our forever home. Your forever home that you're giving to Kyle? The words hung in the air like smoke. Kyle's face went white. Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Summer, Mom started, I don't know what you think you heard. I heard Kyle asking about property taxes. I heard you talking about deed transfers. I saw the paperwork on the kitchen table. Kyle found his voice first. Summer, let me explain. Explain what? How you've been planning to steal the house I'm paying to renovate? It's not stealing, Mom said defensively. It's family planning. Kyle needs stability for his new family. And I need my $67,000 back. That was a gift, Kyle said quickly. You can't just take back a gift. Watch me. I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. The unfinished work, the code violations, the unpermitted bathroom addition. What are you doing? Mom asked. Documenting everything. Every shortcut, every violation, every corner you made Roman cut to save money. Kyle stepped forward. Summer, you're being ridiculous. Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're about to inherit a house that's not up to code. A house that could be condemned if the right person reported the violations. Mom's face went pale. You wouldn't. I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me to be responsible and generous and selfless, who'd taught me that family came first, always, who was now standing in a kitchen I'd paid for, defending her decision to give away the house I'd renovated. Try me, I said. The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in family manipulation. Mom called every day, her voice dripping with wounded innocence. Summer, honey, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we talk? Dad tried the guilt approach. Your mother's been crying herself to sleep. This isn't like you, sweetheart. Kyle went straight for emotional blackmail. Marley's stressed about all this family drama. You know, stress isn't good for the baby. I documented every conversation, every text, every voicemail. Meanwhile, I worked late into the night, cross-referencing building codes, pulling permit records, and building a case that would make any city inspector salivate. The breakthrough came when Roman called me at work. Summer, we need to talk, in person. I met him at a coffee shop near my office. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Your mom came by the site yesterday, he said without preamble. And she offered me an extra $5,000 to keep quiet about the foundation issues. She what? Said it was a bonus for good work, but she made it clear that she didn't want me discussing any problems with you anymore. I set down my coffee cup carefully. What did you tell her? That I needed to think about it. Roman leaned forward. Summer, I can't afford to lose my license over this. If the city finds out I did unpermitted work, covered up structural issues, they won't find out from me. But if someone else reports it, then you'll have documentation showing you tried to fix everything properly. I'll make sure of that. Roman studied my face. You're really going to do this, aren't you? Do what? Whatever you're planning. I can see it in your eyes. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photos I'd been taking. Code violations, unpermitted work, structural issues that had been ignored or covered up. Jesus, Summer. Every single one of these is a city violation. Some of them are serious enough to get the house condemned. And you're going to report them? I'm going to give my family one more chance to do the right thing. That evening, I got the call I'd been expecting. Summer? Mom's voice was strained. Can you come over? We need to discuss the renovation budget. What about it? Well, the property taxes are going to be higher with all the improvements. We were hoping you might help us cover the first year. I almost laughed. How much higher? About $4,000 more annually. It's a lot for us on a fixed income. But not a lot for Kyle? Silence. Mom, let me ask you something. When you give Kyle the house, is he going to pay you back for the renovations? Summer, I don't know what you think. Is he? Another pause. That's between Kyle and us. So that's a no. Family doesn't keep score, honey. You're right. Family doesn't keep score. But I'm starting to wonder if we're actually family. I hung up and immediately called Kyle. Good to hear from you. How's work? Cut the crap, Kyle. I know about the house. His cheerful facade cracked. Look, I can explain. Explain how you're getting a free house while I pay for it? It's not free. Mom and Dad are giving it to me because I need it more than you do. Need it? Yeah, need it. You've got your career, your condo, your savings. I've got a pregnant wife and student loans. You've got student loans because you partied your way through college while I worked 2 jobs. That's not fair. What's not fair is me spending my life savings on a house you're going to inherit. Kyle's voice hardened. Nobody forced you to pay for anything. You're right, nobody forced me. I chose to help my family. Stupid me. Summer, come on, don't be like this. Like what? Honest? Selfish. The word hit me like a slap. Selfish? Yeah, selfish. You make good money, you don't have kids, you don't have real responsibilities. This house means everything to Marley and me. And what does it mean to me? You'll be fine. You always are. I hung up and sat in my car outside their house, watching the lights in the windows. My money had paid for those new windows. My money had paid for the electrical work that powered those lights. My money had paid for the foundation that held up the walls that contained their laughter and their plans and their future. My phone buzzed. A text from Marley. Summer, I hope you know how grateful we are for everything you're doing. The baby is going to love growing up in this house. Kyle says you're the best sister anyone could ask for. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I opened my laptop and began typing a formal complaint to the city building department. Every code violation, every unpermitted addition, every structural issue that had been ignored or covered up. I attached photos, referenced specific building codes, and provided a detailed timeline of when each violation had occurred. Before I could change my mind, I hit send. My phone rang immediately. Roman. Summer, I just got a call from your mom. She's panicking about something. What did you do? I gave them what they wanted. What do you mean? They wanted me to be responsible for the house, so I'm being responsible. Summer, Roman, make sure all your paperwork is in order. Document everything you've tried to fix. Keep records of every conversation where you recommended proper permits or inspections. Why? Because tomorrow morning, the city is going to be very interested in that house. I hung up and drove home, where I poured myself a glass of wine and waited for my phone to start ringing. It didn't take long. The first call came at 6:47 a.m. Summer, what have you done? Mom's voice was shrill with panic. Good morning to you too, Mom. Don't you dare take that tone with me. There are city inspectors at the house. They have clipboards and cameras and they're talking about violations. Huh. That's weird. Summer Elizabeth, I know this was you. I sipped my coffee. I have no idea what you're talking about. They're saying the bathroom upstairs was built without permits. They're taking pictures of the foundation. Roman looks like he's going to throw up. Maybe you should have gotten proper permits. You told us it would be fine. I told you no such thing. I told Roman to do everything by the book. You're the one who asked him to cut corners. The line went quiet except for Mom's heavy breathing. What do you want? She asked finally. What do I want? To make this go away. What's it going to cost? I almost choked on my coffee. Even now, even caught red-handed, she thought this was about money. It's going to cost you exactly what it's going to cost you, I said. I'm not a city inspector, Mom. I can't make anything go away. But you reported us. I reported code violations at a property under renovation. It's my civic duty. Your civic duty? Her voice cracked. Summer, this is your family. Is it? Because last I checked, family doesn't lie to each other about who's getting the house they're paying to renovate. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. Kyle. Summer, you need to fix this right now. Good morning, Kyle. How's Marley feeling? Don't change the subject. There are inspectors crawling all over the house. They're talking about stop work orders and fines. That sounds serious. It is serious. They could condemn the whole property. Wow. That would be terrible for whoever owns it. Summer, I swear to God. You swear to God what? You'll cut me out of the family? Steal my inheritance? Oh, wait. You already did that. Nobody stole anything from you. Right. You just happen to be getting a free house that I paid to renovate. It's not free. Mom and Dad are giving it to me because I need it. And what about what I need, Kyle? What do you need? You've got everything. I need my family to not treat me like an ATM. I need my parents to not lie to me. I need my brother to not be a selfish, entitled brat who thinks the world owes him everything. You're being a vindictive bitch, and you're being exactly who you've always been. I hung up again. By noon, I had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. I ignored them all and went to work, where I spent the day designing load-bearing structures for people who actually paid me for my expertise. At 5 o'clock, I drove to the house. The scene was exactly what I'd expected. A red stop work order plastered on the front door, Roman's truck gone, Kyle's car in the driveway, along with Dad's sedan and a car I didn't recognize. I used my key to go in through the back door. Completely ruined, someone was saying in the living room. A man's voice I didn't recognize. There has to be something we can do, Dad said. Mr. Harper, I'm going to be honest with you. The violations are extensive. The unpermitted bathroom, the foundation issues, the electrical work that wasn't inspected, this is going to be expensive to fix. How expensive? Kyle asked. Conservatively, 40 to 50,000, maybe more if we find additional problems. I heard Mom make a strangled sound. And if we don't fix it? Dad asked. The city will condemn the property. You won't be able to live here, and you certainly won't be able to sell it. I walked into the living room. 4 faces turned toward me. Mom, Dad, Kyle, and a man in a suit holding a clipboard. Summer, Mom jumped up. Thank God you're here. This is Mr. Peterson from the city planning office. Mr. Peterson looked confused. I'm sorry, are you the homeowner? No, I said. I'm the structural engineer who's been overseeing the renovation. His expression sharpened. Ah, then you're aware of the violations? Very aware. I've been trying to get the homeowners to address them for weeks. Mom's face went white. Kyle started to say something, but I cut him off. I have documentation of every conversation where I recommended proper permits and inspections. Unfortunately, the homeowners chose to ignore my professional advice. Mr. Peterson made a note on his clipboard. I see. Well, the violations still need to be addressed. Of course, I'd be happy to oversee the corrective work, assuming the homeowners want to proceed. Summer, Dad said carefully, could we speak privately? Actually, I think we should all hear this, I said, since it affects everyone. I reached into my purse and pulled out a manila envelope, thick with papers. What's that? Kyle asked. A detailed report of every code violation on this property. Every shortcut that was taken. Every corner that was cut. Every time I recommended doing things properly and was overruled. I handed the envelope to Mr. Peterson, who opened it and started flipping through the pages. This is very thorough, he said, impressed. You've documented everything. I believe in being thorough. Mom found her voice. Summer, what are you doing? I'm being responsible. Isn't that what you always wanted from me? Kyle stepped forward, his face red with anger. You vindictive. Careful, I said quietly. Mr. Peterson is still here. Mr. Peterson cleared his throat. I'll need to review all of this and coordinate with the other departments. In the meantime, the stop work order remains in effect. He left, taking my envelope with him. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Dad spoke. Summer, we need to talk. Do we? Because I think we've said everything we need to say. Please, Mom whispered. We're family. I looked at her, this woman who'd raised me and betrayed me in the same breath. No, I said. We're not. I walked out, leaving them standing in the ruins of their perfect plan. 3 days later, the condemnation notice went up. I was driving to work when I saw the crowd gathered on the sidewalk across from the house. Neighbors with coffee cups pointing and whispering. A bright orange sign posted on the front door that could be seen from space. Unsafe for occupancy, by order of the city. I parked and walked over, blending into the crowd of onlookers. Such a shame, Mrs. Rodriguez from next door was saying. They were doing such beautiful work on that house. I heard it's code violations, another neighbor replied. Foundation problems, unpermitted additions, the whole 9 yards. Weren't the Harper kids involved in the renovation? The daughter's an engineer, I think. You'd think she'd know better. I slipped away before anyone recognized me. My phone had been ringing non-stop since the notice went up. I'd stopped answering after Kyle left his 15th voicemail, each one more unhinged than the last. Roman finally caught me at my office. Summer, I need to see you. Now. We met at the same coffee shop as before. He looked exhausted but relieved. The city cleared me, he said without preamble. Your documentation saved my license. Good. They said it was clear I'd tried to do everything by the book but was overruled by the homeowners. He paused. They were impressed by how thorough your records were. I'm detail-oriented. Summer. Roman leaned forward. What you did. I know why you did it, but the fallout is going to be massive. I know. Your parents could lose everything. The fines alone are going to be astronomical. I know that too. And Kyle, what about Kyle? He came by my office yesterday, begging me to say the violations were my fault, offered me $10,000 to take the blame. I looked up sharply. What did you tell him? I told him to go to hell. Roman shook his head. He's desperate, Summer, really desperate. Good. Is it? Because desperate people do stupid things. As if on cue, my phone rang. Penny. Summer, where are you? At coffee with Roman. Why? Because your brother is at your apartment building. He's been pounding on your door for 20 minutes, and Mrs. Chen from 3B called the police. I closed my eyes. I'll be right there. No, don't come here. He's completely unhinged. Meet me at my place instead. I found Penny pacing her living room, phone in hand. The police just left, she said. Kyle's gone, but Summer, he was screaming about how you ruined his life. The whole building heard him. What exactly did he say? That you were jealous and vindictive, that you sabotaged the house because you couldn't stand to see him happy, that you destroyed his family's future out of spite. I sat down heavily on her couch. Maybe he's right. Don't you dare. Penny sat next to me. Summer, what they did to you was unforgivable. They used you, lied to you, and then expected you to smile and pay for the privilege. But now they're losing everything. They lost everything the moment they decided to betray you. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. This is Marley, please call me, it's important. I showed Penny the message. Don't, she said immediately. She's pregnant. What if something's wrong? Then Kyle can handle it. You're not responsible for his wife. But I was already dialing. Summer? Marley's voice was thick with tears. Thank God. I didn't know who else to call. What's wrong? Is the baby okay? The baby's fine. It's Kyle. He's not handling this well. What do you mean? He hasn't slept in 3 days. He keeps talking about lawyers and lawsuits and ways to make you pay. Summer, I'm scared. Scared of what? Of what he might do. He's not thinking clearly. He keeps saying you destroyed his life, that you took away his child's future. Marley, Kyle made his own choices. I know that, but he doesn't see it that way. He sees you as the enemy. What do you want me to do about it? I don't know. Maybe if you could find a way to help fix this, for the baby's sake. I felt that familiar tug, the old instinct to rescue and repair and make everything okay. Marley, I can't fix this. But you're an engineer. You know about buildings and codes, and your husband is about to inherit a condemned house that needs $50,000 in repairs, money he doesn't have because he spent his life assuming I'd always be there to bail him out. Please, Summer, I'm begging you. I'm sorry about the situation, I really am, but this isn't my problem to solve. I hung up and immediately felt sick. You did the right thing, Penny said. Did I? There's a baby involved now, a baby that isn't your responsibility. But what if... My phone rang again, Dad this time. Summer, we need to talk face to face. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, just hear me out. One conversation. Dad, I'll meet you anywhere you want. Just give me 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a diner downtown. Neutral territory. He was already there when I arrived, looking older than I'd ever seen him, gray-faced and hollow-eyed. Thank you for coming, he said as I slid into the booth across from him. 5 minutes. Summer, I know you're angry. Angry doesn't begin to cover it. You have every right to be. What we did was wrong. I stared at him. What you did? Planning to give Kyle the house without telling you. Using your money for renovations you'd never benefit from. It was wrong, and I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you just sorry you got caught? Dad flinched. I deserve that. You deserve a lot more than that. The house is going to be demolished, he said quietly. The city says it's not worth the cost to bring it up to code. I know. We're going to lose everything. The house, our savings, probably our credit. At our age, we'll never recover. That's unfortunate. Summer, please, I'm begging you, help us fix this. I looked at this man who'd raised me, who'd taught me to ride a bike and helped me with homework and walked me down the aisle at my college graduation, who'd also stood by while his wife planned to steal from me. No, I said. Summer. No, Dad, you made your choice. Now live with it. I stood up to leave. Your mother's in the hospital, he called after me. I stopped. Stress-induced chest pains. She collapsed yesterday when the demolition notice came. I turned around slowly. Is she okay? She will be. But Summer, this is killing her, literally. Then maybe she should have thought about that before she decided to screw over her daughter. I walked out, leaving him sitting alone in the booth. But as I drove home, I couldn't shake the image of Mom in a hospital bed, machines beeping around her. Maybe Penny was right. Maybe I'd done what needed to be done. So why did victory feel so much like drowning? I was staring at my laptop screen, trying to focus on structural calculations, when someone knocked on my apartment door. Hard, insistent knocks that made my stomach clench. Summer, I know you're in there. Kyle's voice, muffled but angry. We need to talk. I didn't move from my kitchen table. Summer, open the damn door. More pounding. My neighbor's dog started barking. I'm not leaving until you talk to me. I grabbed my phone and called building security, but before I could dial, the knocking stopped. I heard footsteps retreating down the hallway. My phone rang immediately. Unknown number. Hello? Miss Harper, this is Attorney David Kim. I represent your parents in a legal matter. My blood went cold. What kind of legal matter? They're exploring options regarding the property damage caused by your complaint to the city. I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss potential resolution. There's nothing to resolve. Miss Harper, your parents are facing financial ruin. Surely we can find a mutually beneficial solution. Let me be clear, Mr. Kim. I reported legitimate code violations. If my parents are facing consequences, it's because they chose to ignore building codes and lie to their contractor. That's one interpretation of events. It's the only interpretation that matters. Don't call me again." I hung up and immediately called Penny. "They're threatening to sue me," I said when she answered. "For what? Reporting code violations?" "I don't know, but they hired a lawyer." "Summer, you documented everything. You have Roman's testimony, the city's inspection reports, your own professional records. They don't have a case. But they can still drag me through court, cost me money I don't have. Money you don't have because you spent it renovating their house." I was quiet for a moment. "Penny, what if I made a mistake?" "What kind of mistake?" "What if I should have just walked away? Let them have the house, cut my losses, moved on with my life. And let them get away with stealing from you? Maybe it would have been easier. Easier isn't the same as right." That evening, I drove past the house. The demolition had started. Heavy machinery sat in the driveway, and half the roof was gone. The beautiful kitchen I'd designed was exposed to the sky, cabinets hanging at odd angles. I parked across the street and watched the destruction. A car pulled up behind me, Roman's truck. He got out and walked over to my window. "Thought I might find you here. Just wanted to see it." "Mind if I sit?" I unlocked the passenger door. Roman climbed in and we sat in silence, watching the house come apart. "Any regrets?" he asked finally. "Every day." "About reporting the violations?" "About all of it. About trusting them. About thinking family meant something different than it actually does." Roman was quiet for a moment. "You know what I regret?" "What?" "Not speaking up sooner. I knew something was wrong when your mom kept asking me to cut corners. I should have insisted on talking to you directly. It wouldn't have changed anything. They would have found another contractor." "Maybe, but at least you would have known the truth earlier." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Summer, this is Aunt Jayla. Can you meet me tomorrow? I have something that belongs to you." I showed Roman the message. "You going to go?" he asked. "I don't know. I'm tired of family drama." "What if it's not drama? What if it's something else?" I met Jayla at a law office downtown. She was sitting in the waiting room with a briefcase and a nervous expression. "Summer, thank you for coming." "What's this about, Jayla?" "Your grandmother's estate." "Grandma Rose died 5 years ago." "I know, but there was a trust, something your parents never told you about." A lawyer appeared and led us into a conference room. He was older, distinguished, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Miss Harper, I'm Robert Walsh. I handled your grandmother's estate." "Okay. Your grandmother established a trust in your name when you turned 18. The terms were very specific." He opened a file and pulled out legal documents. "The trust becomes accessible when you demonstrate financial independence from your family. Your grandmother was concerned about certain family dynamics." "What kind of dynamics?" "She felt you were being taken advantage of. The trust was designed to activate when you stopped enabling what she called destructive family patterns." I stared at him. "How much money are we talking about?" $150,000, plus interest accumulated over 14 years. The room spun. "What?" "Your grandmother was quite wealthy, Miss Harper. She left the bulk of her estate to this trust, with instructions that it only be released when you proved you could stand up for yourself." Jayla leaned forward. "Summer, she knew. Even back then, she knew how they treated you." "But why didn't anyone tell me?" "Because," Mr. Walsh said, "your grandmother specifically requested that you not be informed until the conditions were met. She wanted you to find your own strength, not rely on the promise of inheritance. And reporting the code violations demonstrated that you were finally willing to prioritize your own well-being over family manipulation, the trust activated last week." I sat in stunned silence. "There's more," Jayla said quietly. "Your grandmother left letters for you to read when the trust was released." Mr. Walsh handed me a sealed envelope with my name written in Grandma Rose's careful handwriting. I opened it with shaking hands. My dearest Summer, I read aloud, if you're reading this, it means you've finally learned to value yourself as much as you value others. I watched for years as your parents treated you like a bank account rather than a daughter. I watched Kyle take and take while you gave and gave. I hoped you would find your strength before it was too late. The money in this trust is not a reward for cutting ties with family. It's a foundation for building the life you deserve. Use it wisely. Use it for yourself. You are worth so much more than they ever let you believe. Love always, Grandma Rose. I looked up to find both Jayla and Mr. Walsh watching me with gentle expressions. She loved you very much, Jayla said. She just wanted you to love yourself too. I drove to the demolition site one last time. The house was completely gone now, just a pile of rubble and a concrete foundation. I parked and walked to the edge of the lot. My phone rang. Mom. Summer. The lawyer says you inherited money from Grandma Rose. That's right. Well, that's wonderful news. Maybe now you can help us get back on our feet. I looked at the empty lot, at the foundation that would need to be broken up and hauled away before anything new could be built. No, Mom, I can't. But we're family. No, I said firmly. We're not. Not anymore. I hung up and blocked the number. Then I pulled out a piece of paper, the blueprints I'd drawn for my own house, the one I'd been dreaming about for years, but never thought I could afford. I spread the plans on the hood of my car and looked at them in the fading light. A modest house with good bones, built to last, designed for someone who understood the value of a solid foundation. I folded the blueprints carefully and got back in my car. It was time to build something that was truly mine.